All right, welcome to week 2 update on the Ranger build. This week we worked mostly on the steering. Sam, you walk me through what how the steering's set up here?
Yeah, absolutely. So we kind of finished the steering a little bit. We used some Heims to carry the steering shaft. The 520 chain Chris talked about last week is here. That actually is tracking really well. We're super excited about that. Shaft up into these U-joints, and we actually tied into the factory steering column. We were able to go through the factory hole in the firewall, which is pretty cool. And that kind of checks that off the list. We've spun it around a couple times. We have no major drags, so that's
Seems
a major.
Okay. We went ahead and we put a support plate in the bottom of the steering shaft because we had cut that off from a firewall and brought it back. So there's a plate in the bottom of the steering column here that the existing stock shaft is supported from, and then we U-joint right off of that. And so we'll probably put a boot on the shaft where it comes out the firewall after we plate that up when we pull the motor back out. And that should be the end of the steering saga for the V8 swap.
No, I hope so. That was a major milestone, and that was a major headache we had in this whole process. We tried to keep the stock box in the stock location and run the GM power steering pump. So I think that worked out pretty well.
Another major thing we had going last week, we were talking about trying to fit this HVAC module in from the Silverado. So last week we pulled the HVAC out of the Silverado donor truck we had, and we got it mocked up in here. We had to cut off basically what's the distribution box for the Silverado. So that was what switched it between defrost and vent and floor. So we cut it right where it comes out of that panel. And so everything to the right of that has the cooling coil and the heating coil and the blend door. So what's our plan as far as getting air out up into the dash?
Getting air out of the dash, we're going to just run some ducting. We're talking about right now, are we going to have defrost? Are we going to have vents? I don't really think it matters as long as stuff comes out of it. Realistically, as long as we can get heat and cold, I think we're ahead. So,
and you probably can also tell that we started the mock-up of the actual dash. So that's what the tube and all the tape is laying out to be. Just trying to get a feel, as well as the Natty Light
gauge
cluster, which is going to be the tablet for the driver's gauges.
The main controls anyway. And I think the Scotch tape is kind of a trick we learned a little bit watching videos of guys and reading about guys building trucks, and it definitely helps for mocking up tubes and mocking out where you can really start to see the way the dash is going to lay in. We kind of mocked up the shifter, we kind of mocked up the emergency e-brake. We kind of mocked it all up, and it'll be a quick process. It should be pretty easy to finish up.
So what's the plan for mounting the dash in here?
I think plan for mounting the dash is going to be a couple ears off the roll cage in each corner. This will be our main carrier, and we're going to really bring tubes kind of from here back down to the original console, and then kind of plate everything in with aluminum, right? You can kind of see the aluminum plates, how they're all going to fall. The shifter will land, the e-brake will land. We'll have gauges, radios, clusters. Again, the gauges are going to go in the electronic dash over there, and it's going to tie in really well. The whole idea is to make all the plates as removable as possible, so when we have to work on this thing, we'll be able to.
Well, hopefully we never have to work on it.
We're going to work on it.
Ideally, the whole frame is going to be bolt in, bolt out. So basically, this whole tube frame is going to go from pillar to pillar, and we'll be able to unbolt that and pull out that as well as the center all in one swoop.
Yeah, that's the idea.
Anything else? We looked at mocking up the radiator.
Yeah, we sized the radiator. We cut some tabs off, but right now we're at a stopping point. We need to order parts. We got to order parts to finish the exhaust. We got to order parts to finish the cooling. We need to order some more tube to finish the dash. I mean, it'll be just the next weekend operation.
So next week, hopefully we have some more parts and more tubing in, and we're aiming to the exhaust collectors should be here this week, as well as plan on ordering the radiator this week and some more tubing. And hopefully next week we can have a pretty good update week and knock out a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, as long as we get the parts that we actually order, that when we actually need them, we'll be fine.